Laughter became a weapon of control in our family. I had always told my mom and my stepdad that I wanted to be a singer when I grew up, and they got a tape recorder for me and asked me to sing into the tape recorder. And as I was singing it, there was a line in the song about, and when I die, something like that. And my stepfather interrupted me with a voice like that, you're dead already. And then everybody laughed, was a big laugh. Anytime I heard laughter, I thought it was directed at me. I could not laugh myself because it only came back to me as something demeaning of myself. And
welcome, everybody. I am so excited for our guest today and for you to learn and get inspired by her experience. Welcome, Noreen, to the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me the chance to share my story.
Oh my God, I can't wait for everyone to hear it. So before we even get into your story, please tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, the work you do, and who you are.
So my name is Noreen Braman, and among my several things that I do is I'm a certified laughter wellness instructor. And that sounds kind of interesting and different. And I help people laugh for the health of it. I'm also a communications manager for the New Jersey Lawyers Assistance Program. And it was the boss of that program who put me on the whole laughter path. So I have different paths of work, but they sort of meld together, which is great.
What a dream. What a dream. I love that. And we all need more laughter in our lives for sure. So, this is a podcast about mindset. And so we go really deep into the mindset because I believe that when we, peel the layers and feel what's in there, we are then able to heal from whatever it is that's going on. But the first step is awareness. So, clearly, you have been through a journey that has led you to not only become aware of the importance of laughter, but also go out and spread it with the world. So tell us, was there a time in your life when laughter was not an option or it wasn't as exciting as it is now? And we'll get right to that story, if you will.
So my story kind of starts with the death of my father, who was a Marine who died at age 23, and I was only 3 weeks old.
Wow.
And the influence of this was that my mother had a really hard time um, raising me and taking care of me and all that. So, but as a baby, I was very smiley, very laughing, and I've since found that really baby laughter is necessary to get people to like the baby and take care of the baby. But you don't know that when you're 1 year old, you just laugh and smile. And as I grew older and my mother remarried, and then I had two other sisters, laughter unfortunately became a weapon of control in our family. And one example was I had always told my mom and my stepdad that I wanted to be a singer when I grew up or some kind of performer. And they got a tape recorder for me and asked me to sing into the tape recorder. And as I was singing it, there was a line in the song about, and when I die, something like that. And my stepfather interrupted me with a voice like that, you're dead already. And then everybody laughed, was a big laugh. And things like that, I've forgiven him for that because he had his own childhood issues.
We all
But
come from those. Yeah. Yeah. Our
yeah,
conditioning defines who we are. So, yeah, that's amazing that
but
you.
as I grew through junior high and even through high school, anytime I heard laughter, I thought it was directed at me. I could not laugh myself because um, it only came back to me as something demeaning of myself. And I was sad and very depressed during those years. And I have to tell you that I had thoughts of suicide, and I have journals that have text written in there about getting even with my parents because of this.
Yeah.
And
And it's so interesting, right? I mean, as like you're saying this story, it's reminding me of like how we're born a certain way with this light and freedom and all of that beautiful stuff. And then how our experiences in the world can then shape that very thing that lights us up and turn it into something that is going to bring us down. And in your case, so far down that you contemplated taking your own life, right?
That's correct.
It's so, it just reminds me of the importance of, doing that inner work even more, or, the power we have to impact little children in our lives, right? Whether it's the neighborhood kid who's driving by your driveway and waving, one little smile, one little exchange, we have the power to change the way they perceive things. So, okay, this is interesting because you're the laughter queen now, and I'm curious to know how, when you were a child, this experience made you look at laughter in a completely different way. And you're feeling these feelings of depression and low vibe mindset. Um, how long do you think you were in that kind of low mindset after these experiences?
So it really continued up into, say, like high school age, where some things all of a sudden were like epiphanies to me. And the first thing is I had, first of all, my idea was be out of the house as much as possible. Don't be home. So
Yeah.
learning to play a musical instrument and being in the band, that seemed like, okay, that's going to take me out of the house for a lot of time. And the person who was the conductor of our high school band, Mario DeCarolis, was also a professional musician, and he was a jovial, happy, laughing person all the time. And he recognized right away, every time I was in his presence when he was laughing, I left the room.
Mm.
And so one time he had a little conversation with me, and I said, "Well, you're laughing at me." And he said, "No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you." And he kind of took me under his wing, giving me extra things to do, to be the music librarian, to just be around this group. His influential and influence over all the musicians. He was very beloved over the years. And it got to the point where my senior year in high school, I was allowed to take independent English. And what I studied was humor, all
Mm.
the humor, satire books, everything.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, it was like, I can laugh. I can
Wow.
laugh.
Amazing.
So that's where that came from.
I love this. I love this for so many reasons. I think that we all have this innate ability as children as we come into this world with these gifts. And then somehow I feel like a lot of us have to let go of these gifts through our conditioning and then find our way back to them, right? Because like I grew up thinking I was a very sensitive child, and I got mocked for that. Like, oh, why are you so sensitive? Why are you so sensitive? And, I thought being sensitive was the worst thing ever. And then I came around after my journey of self exploration, self awareness, self acceptance, and taking that action to then uncover who I am and embrace it fully, to now realizing that being sensitive is a superpower, right? And it's so fascinating to me when I work with people that this story resonates through everyone's life in different ways. So I love that for you, laughter was something you did as a baby, and that it was almost like taken away from you, or like, the way it was perceived was completely turned on its head. But then you attracted this teacher in your life who brought it back for you, or started to bring it back. So, okay, tell me more about how, his kind of reframing laughter for you happened. Like, people, I'm sure there were other people who were saying humor is good and, laughter is good, but what is it that made that shift for you?
Because he was so kind to me in other ways.
Mm.
And it wasn't just me, it was all his students, the way he treated his students, because he was more of a, yeah, we're going to play music together, and we're going to learn, but this isn't about where we're going to be, hitting the podium like every note has to be right. No, he understood people's levels of talent and ability and put them in places where they could feel comfortable.
Mm.
And again, he just was smiling and laughing all the time. It was so contagious.
Mhm.
It was so contagious. And it wasn't like instantly for me, okay, now laughter is my thing in life. I still had to have another journey. I still had to have an adult journey. And part of that was getting married and having children. And my children and I laughed a lot, especially in the car. If we're going somewhere, I don't know, we laughed. We laughed a lot. In fact, one of my nephews said to his mom, I really like Aunt Nor. They call me Aunt Nor. And she said, why? And he said, because she's always smiling.
Wow.
And so this was another thing that I thought, okay, well, this is a good thing. And we moved on. And unfortunately, I got a divorce, and there was a lot of hard times about that. And my children and I really bonded together just laughing at all the things that happened to us. Each
Mhm.
catastrophe after the next was like we didn't want to say, well, this is the worst ever, because we knew that the worst ever was still going to come. And
Mhm.
so that was the period of my life where I was just using laughter with my family to reduce our stress
Mhm.
and manage it that way.
And how old were your kids at the time?
So my kids were 12, 13, and 15.
Mhm. Yeah, so they're old enough to kind of know what's going on, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
seems like laughter was your way of kind of normalizing things a little bit in the house while you were dealing with something difficult.
Yes, yes. And it helped. And
Mhm.
it helped. Not to say we didn't have, tough times, financial, whatever.
Mhm.
I had, of course, some depression feelings that I had to thankfully get a wonderful therapist to help me.
Mhm.
And because, if the hits keep coming,
For sure.
it's very difficult um, to get back, from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that's when I had these epiphanies that started off with my boss sending me to something. And it
Mm.
was, remember fax machines? He
Yes.
got a thing in the fax
We're dating
that said,
ourselves, people, but
yes, I know.
it's okay. It's all
So
good.
he got this fax because we work in helping attorneys with um, um, substance use issues, mental health issues. That's what a lawyer assistance program does.
Okay.
And he got this fax that said, help your people in recovery. Send someone for laughter yoga training.
Mm.
And he handed it to me and he said, I have no idea what this is, but you are the right person in the office to go get this training.
Okay.
And it was the, the fireworks went off in my brain,
Mm.
because suddenly here was laughter for the health of it,
Mm.
not relying on jokes or comedy or demeaning things or whatever. It was just as an exercise.
Mm.
And, people always think that sounds kind of weird. Are we going to lay on mats and do that? No, the only reason it's called yoga is because that means a practice. So
Mm.
it's a laughter practice. And so then I went out and I started sharing it with our people in recovery, and having this before they had a serious meeting. We do a little laughter wellness exercises. Everybody would be relaxed and smiling, and then they could go on talking about some of the other things that were not so pleasant in their life.
Mm.
And so I went to that. Then the same summer, there was there are these kinds of meetings called Chautauquas, and there was a Chautauqua in Cape May, New Jersey,
Mm.
and the title of it was "Can Humor Save the World?"
Wow.
What
And
was
is
it?
this like Native American? What culture is that?
No, Chautauquas are about. I guess they're things started by writers and
Oh,
authors and things like that.
okay.
And this was before there was TED Talks, but very
Mm.
similar to a TED Talk. And they pick a theme, and speakers come in. And again, oh my goodness, the fireworks went off in my head, because these were like my kindred spirits. I
Yeah.
didn't even know it, and I realized that what I had just been using for my own self-defense could actually be helpful to other people.
Yeah.
And so then after that, we always went to the summer school at Rutgers, the alcohol and drug conference at Rutgers every year. And there was Dr. Ray Drightline teaching the psychology of humor.
Wow.
And again, I still have some of his handwritten notes that he gave me. And he was the one who kind of made me realize this is not just for fun. This is not just for, yourself personally. This is
Mm,
something we need to share. And that was 2010. And that's what started me realizing that laughter is a survival condition that has been with us before humans had language.
true. Yeah.
And, as humans, we show our teeth to show that we're friendly.
Yeah.
No other animals do that.
That is so
Occasionally,
interesting. Yeah.
some of the upper primates do make kind of smile things, but that's often because they've been exposed to humans and they
Mm,
imitate. But
mm.
mostly, if that lion is coming at you and they're showing their teeth, they're not friendly.
That's not a good thing. Yes, that's true. Oh my God. Okay. So this is amazing, right? And as a medium, as an intuitive healer, one of the things that I noticed in the patterns in the life that you're sharing is that it was almost as if, if we were to kind of look at laughter medicine as your calling, something inside you had to have shifted for you to start attracting all of these experiences and these people, right? Can you kind of look back and see if there was a moment where you kind of said, okay, yes, laughter has been a negative in my life for so long, but these are the experiences, or was there a moment, or was there like multiple experiences with like your teacher and your English that you took with humor and all of that that led you to then say, okay, I'm gonna look at this a little differently, or I'm open to looking at this differently. And then I feel like boom, 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 the experiences started to line up for you. Would you agree?
So it was that year of the three things that I attended. The laughter yoga started to put that little buzz in my brain that this must be something. And
Mm,
then going to Can Humor Save the World really was the epiphany for me because, okay, people are, they're getting this, laughter's good for you and all that. But no, laughter is mandatory
mm,
and laughter is necessary for everyone, whether you're having a bad time or not a bad time, but it's something that your brain needs. And that was what really, really was the moment.
mm.
And of course, then when I went to Rutgers and took the psychology of humor class, I was like, I'm right. I am right about this. I am right about this.
Yes, I love it.
And that was the time, 2010. That's the year I always say changed my life
I
in
love
that
that.
in that regard. Your life changes, it's fluid, to begin
Yeah,
with, but that was a hard stop
yeah,
to, and so now how can I share this?
I love
And
that.
luckily I had people around me who said, we can help you with this.
And that's the thing. I think that, I talk a lot about the law of attraction, and sometimes we don't realize it's as simple as just realigning ourselves with our truth, and then everything else starts to appear, right? I mean, it took one simple fax, right, from some random person that your boss saw and gave to you, and that just kind of changed the trajectory of how you would start to look at laughter differently, right? And it's like these little experiences are almost validations for us to see that we're on the right path, right? And it's like the
Right.
more we follow those breadcrumbs, I call them, the more bigger they get or the bolder they get, and the more we feel connected to them. So I love how you just illustrated that for me. It's such a beautiful way to kind of look back and see how all the breadcrumbs lined up. And so when you were at your lowest before all of this happened, if we had to give you kind of like a rating of 1 to 10 based on your mindset, where would you say you were? Like 1 being
So
really low and 10 being warrior mode.
10 now.
And
um
yay.
Truthfully, the lowest part of my life was the childhood experience of teenage, preteen, and teenager, because I really felt like I had no friends.
Mhm.
I learned afterwards, people came up to me like at class reunions and said, "Oh, we always loved to listen to you when you answered to the teachers and all that." And I didn't get any of that, that anybody was
Mhm.
really liking me.
Isn't that
I just,
interesting?
yeah, and that was the lowest part of my life. And so I would say that would be a two.
Yeah.
And it really, and sometimes I go and I read my old journals to remind myself,
Mm,
because it's almost like when I read that it's a completely different person.
yeah.
But yet it is my life experience.
It is how you
And
perceive.
I don't think,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think that I could be the person I am today if I didn't have that kind of experience.
Yeah.
So in that way, I've forgiven
Yeah. And I
people
think,
and things.
yeah, you're so right, right? I mean, we can't, like, if everything is hunky dory and great, you might not have valued laughter as much, right? But because laughter was this negative thing for you initially, it almost was like an epiphany when you saw laughter in a good way, right? And it's such a testament, again, your experience to how our mind perceives things, right? While your friends were saying that they loved you and they liked hearing what you had to say, you were having a completely different experience. You were seeing life through a completely different lens, right? So it's so fascinating. Again, another reason for us to dive deep into the mind to see what is the lens that we're seeing life through? What is the perception that we hold? And is it the same as other people, right? And sometimes I'll ask my clients, I'm like, listen, is everybody thinking the same way, or is this just a thought in your head? Right, let's dive a little deeper into that. So I'm so glad that you're able to show us both sides of that. So you were at a 2, and then now you're saying you're at a 10.
Yeah.
So tell us what 10 feels like for you.
So 10 feels like living my best life, regardless of things that are not happy or pleasant or whatever. I have a different attitude now.
Mm,
Before, everything was a catastrophe. And if something went wrong or I perceived something, during my divorce, it was like, well, here we are. I thought people liked me, but obviously, I have to have a divorce. So, you drop down again. And that's the kind of ways that I was going up, down, up, down, up, down. And right now, I have met the love of my life. And so this is, and again, like you say, I would never have been that person, and I would never have met if I didn't go through what I went through. And so having that in my life, having the ability to teach people about laughter wellness and also other well-being issues now, because I've expanded. Well, what else can we pull in to this, into my circle?
mm,
Um, what kind of well-being attitudes, gratitude, um, what is happiness? Is it, and things like that. And I've been teaching at the Osher Lifelong Learning Center at Rutgers, teaching some of these things. Okay, so now we're going to use laughter here. Okay, now what about meditation? And what about this and that? This and having gratitude, and this is all comes into the package because I've incorporated that.
yeah,
And
that's
and
amazing.
I don't look at it as it like it's like the pinnacle right
Mm,
now, because you always want to have that little place to climb up to. But boy, my life is great.
yeah, I love that, and I'm so happy for you in seeing that you have that, right? So for people who are struggling, right? I mean, those are the people that are going to be listening to this and they want to take some inspiration or some hope from our conversation. What is it that gives you that confidence that no matter what, I'm going to be okay? Is it, well, I'll let you answer it. What do you think it is that gives you the confidence that no matter what, you've got, either tools in your toolbox or you've got enough experience under your belt? Like, what is it that gives you that confidence?
So I think any of us, no matter what your age is, it's a good thing sometimes to look back at something that you went through, have come out of the other end, and you need to think about that. A lot of times, if we have an emergency or some catastrophe or whatever, all we are is in fix it mode. And we just have to push ourselves. And then finally at the end, okay, this has been solved and all that, and things are better. And then we walk away from it. But I think we need to look back at those unpleasant things and
Mm,
find where was I strong? Where was I enlightened? Where was I feeling completely helpless? And how did I get myself out of that? Again, for me, journaling has helped so much because, your brain stores your memories in different places. When
yeah.
you're writing, the brain is storing this memory somewhere else. When you're looking at someone, it's another different place. And then listening also. And sometimes if all, talking is great, but if all you do is talk to someone about your problems, that can end up as rumination.
Mm,
But maybe now, if you write yourself a note, you get a whole different perspective. And I think those are the things that helped me was actually taking the time to self-examine, which
mm,
is why I say that this was a journey from 2010 to 2024 for me to get to this point.
yeah.
Doesn't happen overnight, but look for those fireworks moments and
Yeah.
then go back to them. Okay, what made that happen? How did that happen? And I hope that that would help somebody who's struggling right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful, right? Because we forget when we go through something difficult that we actually were brave enough to go through it and were brave enough to come out of it. And also, sometimes it's so painful that we don't want to look back. But this invitation to self-reflect and look back and see, okay, what worked, what didn't. I mean, we do this at work, we do this in other places. We do self-assessment all the time. But
Right.
we don't do it when it comes to our emotions, our feelings, our deep inner thoughts, right? So this is a great tool, and I don't think anyone else has mentioned this so far on my podcast. So I love that you shared that, and I'm a big fan of digging into the dirt and the muck and in the mess and finding that golden message because we all have it. But I love that you kind of use that as your tool. So yeah, so if anyone that's listening is dealing with a difficult time, and I'm sure, my listeners are not very young, so they're all have been through something difficult in their life. So look back, assess, and see what worked, what didn't work, where you were shining, where you were struggling. And then, I always say the internet is full of tools, so if you
Yeah.
find yourself struggling with fear or worry or doubt, Google that. How do I get over fear? How do I get over doubt? And I'm sure you'll find all kinds of tools. And the other thing that I wanted to ask you also is, how does laughter help you cope? So I can see the benefits of laughter, as in like it'll make you feel good in the moment, but how does that carry forward into the difficult times and give you some sort of peace?
So the one thing about laughter is it releases feel good endorphins. And while you have a certain feeling in the moment of laughter, those endorphins don't just evaporate when you stop laughing.
Mhm.
They are still spread out in your brain, spread out through your body, and eventually they do fade back a little bit. When this is what we talk about, it makes you hopefully want to get that feeling again, and getting that feeling again may be to have more laughter or do other things that give you meaning and purpose in life. And
Mhm.
this the course I'm actually teaching right now, is for people to find a meaning and purpose in life. And it doesn't always mean world peace. It can mean helping your neighbors. Cooking. One person was cooking for all her neighbors in the pandemic.
Wow.
And she says, I really love to do this. I wish I could do it all the time. And I said, well, why can't you? This is your meaning and purpose. And to find that, to think of that, to figure out what's that one thing that has always seemed to make you get up and go and get out, what gets you out of bed in the morning. That's the thing that you want to go back to. So, if I had a really like bad experience or whatever, and nothing to laugh about, or something, in the news that's, made us really
Mhm.
stressed out, the love of my life and I will look for comedy, a
Yes.
comedian we like, and we will watch that comedian. And there's like three or four that we like because they're not controversial. They're just funny, and we can laugh, and we know we're getting those endorphins, which is going to build up our resilience. And that's the big word here, is resilience. Where is your resilience? And the thing about resilience is it's about, if you have 5 bad things go on in your life, all one after the other, you can't just have 5 happy things to balance that out.
Yeah.
Scientists say there's maybe a 2 to 3 to 5 times ratio for when you have a bad experience to recover from it, is the happy experience that you need. And that's why having a laughter wellness practice can help. Because if you learn to do laughter sounds and laughter movements without relying on jokes or comedy, your brain doesn't know the difference and releases those endorphins.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So beautiful. So my 2 takeaways from your conversation today, one is dig deep, get real, and look back at the experiences that you've had and you've overcome, and find the glimmers of courage and hope and optimism that you had that got you through. And then the other is add things to your toolbox like laughter that will always release endorphins. And those endorphins don't stay only when you're laughing, they will stay with you for much longer. So if we can, it's almost like going to the gym and taking care of your body on a daily basis, or eating clean on a daily basis is going to have much more results. Or if you have a couple of bad days of eating, food that isn't great for you, it's not going to impact you as negatively as if you only, go to the gym or eat clean once in a while, right? So it's almost like building this habit of laughter every day, so that when something hard happens, you almost have this default tendency to go towards laughter, right? And find humor even in the tough situations.
Right.
This is amazing.
Take the example from Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning. I can't imagine the stories that he told about joke telling in concentration camps.
Yeah.
It didn't change their situation, but for that moment, they released some endorphins, and it gave them strength to keep moving on.
Yeah.
And when I think of that, I realize how important it is.
Yeah. So true. We can't always change what's happening around us, but we can try to find some inner peace through laughter. What a beautiful message, Noreen. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your incredible journey with us. I know I'm walking away with this, bigger smile today than I came in with. And so thank you for that. And tell us, how can people find you? Where can they learn more about your courses, your classes, all that good stuff?
So they can go to my webpage, which starts as usual with the www, but then it's njlaughter.com.
Beautiful.
Kind of like NewJerseyLaughter.com.
Got
It's
it.
njlaughter.com. And you can get all kinds of, I have some books on that page and things like that.
Okay.
So, yeah. And
Wonderful.
email
Yeah.
me if you want.
Okay.
On that
We will
page.
put all your information in the show notes so people can check you out and come laugh with you. And, at the very least, be inspired to watch some comedy or something funny. I always go back to the puppy videos on my feed, and the babies, they always crack me up. So laughter is a great medicine. I know my dad was a huge fan of laughter yoga, and he would do it. And as kids, we would be like, what is he doing? So weird. But it was, over time, I started to look forward to the moments when he would do that. And my kids still remember him for that. So I know he's smiling down at me as well today. But thank you again for sharing your journey, and keep laughing, keep smiling, keep sharing the love. So honored to have had you as a guest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.